has shook out is the Senate bill. The House passed it. They passed a bill with $50 minimum wage. The Senate this weekend passed a bill without the $50 minimum wage, with a reduction in the unemployment benefits, the emergency unemployment benefits to, I believe it's 300 a week now. Originally it was 400. I see.
But extended to September, right?
I recall it being promised to be 600 before the election, but I mean, that's we can do over the fascist going.
That was Trump's America when all was possible.
So, but they did get the votes. They got 50 votes.
Is the implication that that Trump would have passed like a more progressive form of relief? Is that the implication? Not to mention the fact that on $10,200, because Biden's plan retroactively forgives taxes on $10,000 for people under 75K, on $10,000 of unemployment insurance. What is that? That's probably an extra, what, $2,000 if I say 20%? Maybe $1,500? But
it's for the COVID package in the Senate, and now the two houses are going to get together and they're going to merge the bills. And, you know how a bill becomes law.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't actually go to American schools, so I had to catch that particular video on YouTube later in life. But yeah, I learned my civics from the cartoon from the 40.
Wait, didn't she go to Harvard? Gray earned a Bachelor of Arts degree from Harvard University and a Juris Doctor from Harvard Law School. Does she just mean she didn't go to grade school in America? Okay, I don't know. Whatever. This is a dumb nitpick by me. I hate this person so much. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I learned my civics from the cartoon, from the 40-year-old cartoon like everybody else. The other part of what David Sirota, you alluded to is, the lack of courage, one might say, from the left, pointing out that the same way that Joe Manchin has amassed, infinity stone levels of power for himself is by just being willing to hold out and say, you need my vote and I'm not going to give it to you unless you concede to my concessions. This is a must pass bill. And so you need me. Now, there are other senators who potentially ones on the left who could say the same thing. And there are certainly a large number of progressives in the House who could do the same thing because, as we've discussed at length on this program, we have very narrow margins in the House and 6 or so progressives could hold out and make similar kinds of demands.
The reason why it doesn't make sense for them to make those demands, though, is because they're never going to lose their seats based on their vote because they're in incredibly safe areas, whereas people like Manchin could lose their seat. But whatever.
Yeah, the Congressional, as Ro Khanna told us, the Congressional Progressive Caucus is, 95 members. The COVID bill passed the House with 7 votes, a 7-vote margin. In the Senate, it was a 1-vote margin. And, I mean, is it a must-pass bill or not? If it's a must-pass bill, then you can do a lot to gum up the works.
Yeah, so when Democrats talk about it being a must-pass bill, what they mean is, I will give you anything. I have no leverage. I will sublimate myself. I will prostrate myself on the ground, wear a hair shirt, defenestrate myself, whatever you want. Daddy, I'll give you, as long as this bill passed. What conservatives hear when you say it's a must-pass bill is, I'm in power. You really want to pass this bill, you thirsty so-and-so, so you got to do what I say. And there's no reason that has to be the posture here.
I'm pretty sure that if it's a must-pass bill, I'm trying to remember, if somebody can link me polling data so that I can make sure I'm still rooted in reality, I'm pretty sure that the way that must-pass bills work are the onus, the political pressure is on the party that holds power in order to pass the bill. So when Trump, for instance, was blocking out the budget stuff, that I'm pretty sure that scored well for the Democrats. When the government was being threatened to shut down and stuff, that typically the party in power will get blamed for a failure to negotiate on those bills. So when they say must pass, they mean that whatever administration is in charge is the one that must pass the bill. Yeah, the Trump bill over the border wall was the longest government shutdown in history. And I'm pretty sure that polling-wise, that ended up playing out not good for Trump's administration. It hurt them.
Or the other thing, they increased the means testing. They dialed the means testing up to 11. And it means that some people who got, big checks from Donald Trump are not getting shit in this bill.
Right. So I heard a point made on our favorite show.
What? Not getting shit in this bill? Hold on. What were the size of the checks? Why are we only talking about the size of the checks? Those child tax credits are huge. You might have gone from getting $0 because the tax credit was not refundable to getting $3,600. And you're getting those checks from the government. You don't even have to wait to file your taxes. You're getting those checks proactively. That's massive. Like, what do you mean they're not getting shit? Like, what are you talking about?
Of America, that I don't really know what the point is if you're Joe Manchin to go back to West Virginia and say, yeah, I really screwed over people who make $80,000 a year. I mean, it's one thing to be able to kind of like string up a millionaire and show that you've kept them from getting undue funds, but it's weird to kind of make a villain out of someone who is wealthier than the average American, but like just a middle class person still.
I did not follow that.
So if you're a moderate Dem, the argument would be, oh, I'm gonna argue for means testing because the argument is I'm gonna keep rich people from getting money so that poor people can get money. But if the villain you're making, we're talking about people who are earning $80,000 a year being kept from getting funds, then it's hard to champion.
So the problem is that right now she's saying something she thinks not good, but she just doesn't know any of the data or have any idea what happened during the lockdown, right? So the reason why, but now we've read this, right? Because we spent a full 30 minutes reading articles, okay? The reason why it makes sense to do this is because a lot of middle-class workers didn't actually lose their jobs in the shutdown. Now, I know that a lot of you guys might be upset and a lot of white people on Twitter get really mad, but fuck the middle class. Middle class did okay during the recession. Arguably, some of the middle class did really well. The people that got fucked were the working class people, especially brown people, black people, and working women. Those are the groups that got super fucked. If you're a white collar worker and you held on to your job and you got to work from home and you got a stipend from your job about it or related to it because they paid for your internet or food or whatever, and you saved money because you weren't going out and spending money on services going to shut down, you did pretty well in 2020. You did okay. The fact that so much of this bill went towards like working class people or made like that child tax credit refundable or lowered the caps on the ACA, that shit is awesome. I don't know if we would have had all that if we were giving money to like dipshit Harvard grads or other podcast losers that are making over $30,000 a month on their fucking podcasts. Like, I don't know if we would have had that money to make the child tax credit refundable or to expand it up to $3,000 or $3,600 per dependent.
Keeping money from them in the same way that you could champion, oh, I screwed over a millionaire. Like screwing over someone who makes $80,000 a year just doesn't hit the same way.
So what you're saying is the pod save gentlemen were right in this one?
Yeah, they were right. I mean, look, they're often right. I'm sorry. But look, Virgil, I don't want to upset you. Maybe we should play the clip because I was listening to the most recent episode as I got ready for today's show, as I often do, as I put my face on, because I only put my face on for the 2 hours we're on camera, and I immediately take it all off, like the sad clown tear meme. And they were.
What, Pagliacci? That meme, Pagliacci?
I will say, it's not that they're always so wrong. It's hard to put into words what you're getting from the show that's so frustrating. So I thought we should just listen to this clip because I think it's a really good example of how things are framed there in a way that just never puts the onus on the Biden administration.
For grand savings of $12 billion out of a $1.9 trillion package. Do you have any idea like what the moderate Democrats who demanded this got out of the deal?
Feel better about themselves? It's so stupid. It is so stupid. We talk all the time about lessons in 2009 and et cetera. But the one that I think is the most important lesson for all Democrats to recognize is err on the side of the strongest economy possible. This is not what the Biden administration wanted to do. This was it must have been, I think there's relatively limited reporting on this, but it's pretty clear that this was what it took to get, I assume, Joe Manchin and maybe a couple others to be the 50th vote for this bill. It is incredibly stupid. It is not, the overall bill is still an incredibly progressive, important piece of legislation because of Joe Manchin and others. It will not be as good as it could be with $15 minimum wage. The checks being stingier than they should be. The general rule in an economic crisis is err on the side of helping more people rather than fewer, and they made the wrong decision.
A big progressive piece of legislation. It took Donald Trump like a week to fucking ram through a gigantic bailout package and the Congress. And that was less stingy than this because those checks went out to more people.
That's the thing.
Whoa, fuck. What was the NOAA article? Like, it's not just the checks. There's so much more that goes into this. To be fair, for Donald Trump, there was more than that as well. But like, it's not just the checks. And this bill does way more for lower class or working class people than Donald Trump's did. That was mainly targeted at like fucking like larger businesses and the entire economy. Like, it's not just the checks.
Like, I listen to the show because they'll say the thing that happened and they articulated it well, and they'll even sometimes give you that marginal critique. Yeah, it sucks that all of these conservative Democrats made the bill less good. But somehow, some way, I don't know if it's like a contractual obligation, I don't know if it's just a sincere belief that because Joe is good and likes ice cream and dogs, that of course he must have wanted a better outcome than this, when every single thing, as we've been discussing on this show, indicates that he did not want a better outcome. He's the one that said before the parliamentarian ruling that he didn't think the parliamentarian was going to do it. He's the one whose VP had the power to overturn a parliamentarian ruling. He's the one that had the power to negotiate with Manchin and Sinema and to push them, but instead he used...
Just because you overturn the parliamentarian ruling doesn't mean that you're going to get every other Senate Dem on board with the 15 an hour. It's like, this is so boring. They just want 15 an hour. That's like literally the only thing these guys care about. Like, they have a little pet project. They've got like a little virtue signal position, and it's 15 an hour and Medicare for all. And these are the only two things they care about or think about in all of U.S. policy. Like, this is the only thing they think about. Like, it's the only thing that goes through their head. They don't think about any other thing related to politics. And then maybe like woke issues when they can get brownie points for it.
These artificial roadblocks to, alleviate himself from any pressure to do so.
So who gives a shit what Joe Biden wants? Joe Biden wants a warm bath and the nurse to stop stealing his change. Because he doesn't know where the fuck he is.
Anyway, I heard it, so you do too. That's just that sometimes I feel like the less criticisms are, like just, oh, these people suck and I hate it. And, it's a little bit more than that. Like, I think it's important for us to understand why it is that we all saw the same thing happen with the $15 minimum wage. But one cohort of us, the left, is furious. And all of these liberals who ostensibly were like, yes, fight for 15 hashtag in their bios and stuff, are so easily accepting the outcome. And this is why. This is why.
Because of that show?
Yeah, because all the entire media narrative coming out of the center is that this was an inevitability that Joe Biden can control. And all of the blame lies on these third parties, whether it's conservative Democrats or parliamentarian or the idea of bipartisanship.
Yeah.
They talk endlessly about how 0 Republicans voted for and all of this kind of stuff to distract from the fact that regardless, we could have had a better outcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just so we know what we're up against, that's all.
Okay, so this was my weekly torture session. I mean, we can just go to the interviews. I just have to comment on the weirdness of the past few days.
Please.
There's some very weird vibes coming out of politics. Kristen Sinema, or is it Kirsten Sinema? I never figured it out. She spells the name with a Y. So
Well, then that's her parents' fault. The H, I would just like to say the H in my name is clarifying with respect to pronunciation. It's not confusing. The H is ah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
This is her name. I don't know what I'm doing. Who showed up in this kawaii fucking outfit and thumbs down her vote against the minimum wage hike.
Yeah, did a little shimmy and then promptly accused everybody who complained about her doing the thumbs down, which not only mocked poor people, but John McCain, who people in Arizona adore. Everyone who criticized her is of course doing a sexism.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say right now, Kristen Sinema is no longer bisexual. I'm gonna do erasure to Kristen Sinema. Like, you're out.
You remember the racial draft sketch? I think it was Dave Chappelle.
Yeah,
Dave Chappelle?
Yeah, Chappelle show.
You're gonna have like a LGBT QIA draft sketch.
Yeah, I don't know who gets her the straights, the
That's
asexuals.
fair. Give everyone the asexuals.
It's done.